Alrighty, welcome back. This is Crooked Leg here in the Kansas City War Room, and we are looking at the summer of 1918 for the Soviets. Before we get started on the actual Soviet turn, we of course have to do our trusty Soviet cards. So let's shuffle these up here a bit, shall we? Do the side shuffle since there's not really enough to do the bridge. Okay, here we go. So, card number 1 is German Volkskorps. This event may only be played after spring 1918. Germany will place 1 attacking Volkskorps infantry in either West Poland, Estonia, Latvia, or Lithuania. I'm going to bet it's Estonia, because Estonia is empty. Resolve combat if the territory is attacked by the controlled power. This unit remains even if Germany withdraws. Okay, so I'm going to place that in Estonia. So let's go over here. So here's the map. Let's grab a German infantry. And the Volkskorps. Okay. So Estonia is German once again. So there's that. Okay. Let's do event number 2. That wasn't worth any income, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay. All right, card number 2. Spanish flu. This is not the greatest one that could be drawn. Each white territory controlled by a major power, not including Poland, Ukraine, or Finland, removes 1 infantry unit in each territory. Every adjacent territory also removes 1 infantry unit. Always leave a minimum of 1 unit in each affected territory. So, the only territory that would be affected, to my understanding, would be up here. Because all these zones only have 1. Only 1 there. There's only 1 over there. So, this zone here has at least 2 infantry units, so we'll remove 1 there. And then this is an adjacent territory to Angara, so it would be impacted. So we lose 1 there as well. Let's double check the card. It says each white territory removes 1 infantry unit in each territory. Every adjacent territory removes 1 infantry. Okay. So yeah, so that's that. That was the only one that's impacted. And let's go draw event number 3. So event number 3. Western intervention. Britain and France must immediately relocate 1 infantry unit to any port held by whites in the West. The USA must immediately relocate 1 existing infantry unit to Primorsky Krai if held by whites. If any of these major powers have withdrawn, place it, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so to my understanding with this card, there are no white territories that have ports, with the exception of Transcaucasia, which is under the possession of whites that are controlled by the Ottomans. So, I don't believe that they would get to place anything because it's not Britain and it's not France. Yeah. So, I don't think that that card has any impact. So again, we drew the Volkskorps, Western Intervention, and Spanish flu. So Spanish flu was probably the worst outcome for us because we lost a unit. But those were some of the worse off cards that we could have drawn. The rest of these cards aren't actually half bad for us for the most part. Okay, so now we'll set these cards to the side. And we'll get into the turn overview. So the Soviets have some stuff to do. They have 2, 4, 6. They have $14 to spend. We are going to gain our free militia for free. I believe this is the 4th turn of us getting the militia for free. I'd have to go back and look. It might be the 5th. So this is either the second to last or the last turn that we'll get a Women's Death Brigade for free. And then in addition to that, we will spend $4 to buy 2 trench fighters. We'll buy 1 militia, and then we're going to buy a Cossack and a cavalry at $4 a piece. So 4, 8, 12, 14. We have our Communist International, which will be for the Swedes. And then we have our 2 tech rolls. We'll do black for improved construction, and then we'll do blue for improved logistics. Okay, so let's do that. So we'll roll here. There's our cup. So black for improved construction and blue for improved logistics. So here we go. 7 and 7. That's what we needed for both. Okay, so I'm going to update both of those technologies. So we go to stage 2 for improved factories and stage 3 for improved logistics. Arguably the best turn we've had for tech the entirety of the game. Surprise, surprise. Okay, so there's that. Let's do diplomacy for Sweden. So we need a 3, I believe still, because I believe they're still neutral. If they're not, then it would be a 2. And we got a 1. Okay, so we will move Sweden to stage 1 for the Soviets. If they're not, and they're technically moving back to neutral, then we'll do that, but you guys let me know if I missed it. Okay, so there's that. Okay, let's get into combat moves for the Soviets. So for the Soviets, we're going to do an attrition attack into from Kursk into eastern Ukraine using the armored train. And then we're going to strategic bomb the rails in eastern Ukraine. We're going to damage the rails in Tarita using the 3 infantry in Tarita. And then we're going to do a combat move from Gorky and Zarinia into Ural with both of those sets of forces. One of the Cossacks will be paired with the commander to make him effective. So we'll have that. I think. No, we won't mess with it, because the Cossack's worth 4 pips alone. We won't mess with that. So the commander probably won't participate, actually. So we'll take the militia in, Cossack, infantry, the artillery, and the balloon. That's what we'll do. And we'll bring I believe the truck and the commander behind. Okay, so we'll do that combat there. And then we have a combat move over here. The militia and the 4 infantry in Tobolsk will attack into Yenisei, I believe is what it's pronounced. So we'll go there. So there's that. And I believe that does it. So we'll have that. We'll have those 2 combat moves. And then, of course, we'll have the combat move over here. So let's go roll those. So we'll start with the attrition attack. Again, fairly straightforward. So the attrition for the armored train is at a 1. So let's roll that. We got a 5, so that fails. Okay, Then that's it for that area. Let's do the bombing of the rail in eastern Ukraine. We need a 3 or less. We got a 1, so that will damage that rail. Okay, let me take you over there. Okay, so the attrition attack was unsuccessful. We successfully damaged that rail, and we will damage the rail in Tarita. Damaging the rail with the airship that was in Oral Kursk performing that. He's going to fly back to Oral Kursk via non-combat and land there. That would give us propaganda. Okay. And then now let's do the 2 battles over there. I'll pull the units off here. It'll be 3 rounds of combat as there are no trench lines. So we have the defending militia, and the commander would be present for the opponent, and then all of our forces. And it is, I believe, a mountain territory. So that is something else to take into consideration here. So again, for the whites, they don't have to have a paired observation unit for commanders. And then for us, we have our 2 Cossacks. It will be at 4s. The artillery will be, Cossacks will be at 3s because of the mountain. The artillery will be at a 3 for the mountain. Paired with the observation balloon, we'll bump it to a 4. And then the militia at a 1, and the infantry at a 1. And we will boost the Cossack to a 5 with the artillery. So we'll have 2 1s, 1 4, and 2 5s. One of the 5s will be a first strike. Okay. So let's do that real quick. So, first strike, 11. That fails. There you go, you should be able to see now. So the artillery failed. And then now we're into regular combat, so I put a 5 in there. Let's put a 4 and the 2 1s. So here we go. Okay. That's caught between a 1 and a 4. We'll call it a 4. But otherwise we missed. So we got our 1 hit against the militia, so we'll take the zone. And now we'll roll for the militia that's defending at a 2, or I'm sorry, he'll be at a 3. He missed at a 7, because he would have been boosted by the commander, actually, and not at a 2. But he missed anyways, so that's that. So the whites will lose control of Ural, and we will need to roll for the commander to see if he escapes or is killed. So we'll just throw a 12-sided die in here. I believe on an 11 or a 12, the commander is killed. And we got a 6. I'm sorry, that's a 9. Didn't matter though, he escapes. So the commander will escape to nearest land zone for them. And I'm guessing that would be here. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt and say that he's supposed to be there to defend. I don't know that he is, but we'll do that. Because it's probably that he's relocated during the non-combat phase. But just to be on the safe side, we'll say he goes there. Because that's the nearest white territory. So this territory is no longer under their control. So we'll take that. I'll grab the units to put over there. So we took Ural with an infantry, militia, 2 Cossacks, artillery, and a balloon. Okay. So now we'll do the battle over here in Yenisei, sorry. Yenisei, so we'll grab our 4 infantry, and they'll be at 1s because of the river penalty along with the militia. And then the whites infantry will be at a 5 because of the commander. If I'd been thinking about this, I should have probably rolled Yenisei or however you want to pronounce it first, so I didn't have the commander there, but oh well. Okay, so he'll be at a 5, and then we'll have our 4 infantry at 1s, along with the militia at a 1 for the first round, and they'll bump to 2s after this. Okay, no first strikes. Not gonna lie, I thought that was a militia before that was defending, so this could go ugly for us depending on how we roll. So there's 4 infantry 1s, and then the militia at 1. So 5 at 1s. No hits. There's a 2 there, but no hits. Okay. And the defender at a 5. He missed on a 7, so that works out in our favor. Okay, so now all of the infantry boost to 2s because there's no longer a river penalty, and it is a regular zone otherwise. So now we have better odds. So the militia's at a 1, and then the 4 infantry will be at 2s now. So here we go. And everybody missed. Yeah, okay. And then the whites infantry again at a 5. There we go. He got a 10, so he missed. Okay, and then round 3, which is the final round, the 4 infantry and the militia. And we missed again. Damn it. Okay. That figures. And then now the infantry for the whites defending on the 3rd round. And he got an 8. So he missed again. So in the event that the commander couldn't retreat to there, I guess it didn't matter. He was going to go there regardless because we didn't take the land zone. Okay, so we will not take the land zone with the 4 infantry and the militia. And the whites infantry and commander do not escape either. So let's go back over here. Hindsight, we probably should have taken the militia from Novosibirsk into here, and then we could have reinforced from there. So that way we could have retreated stuff back. But we didn't. So how this is going to work then is that we're not in a great spot for Novosibirsk, although it does help that the city is going to be limited to 1 round of combat because of the fall-winter. So we do have that benefit. We do have a trench line into Tobolsk. Okay. So we failed there. And I believe that does it for combat movement. So now let's get into non-combat. The truck and commander here in Gorky. So the truck will go 1 to Moscow and 2 to Orel-Kursk. Commander, it's here in Gorky. There's all these damaged rails. We'll go ahead and have him move from Gorky, and he'll go 1, 2, 3, 4 to Novosibirsk. We don't have anything yet there to be utilized, but we're going to put him there anyways, just so he's in position, because we're going to probably repair rails next turn, as we have the benefit to do so. Okay, so we had that movement. He'll still be ineffective, though. The 2 cavalry, the Cossack, the truck, and the artillery in Karelia are going to go 1, 2 to Orel-Kursk. Okay. The infantry in Smolensk is going to walk into Orel-Kursk. The trench fighter in Zaristan is going to walk into... Where do I want him to go? We will walk him into Don Mansion. Yeah, Don Mansion. The fighter that's here in northern Belarusia is going to fly 1-2 to Orel-Kursk. Again, we landed the airship back in Orel-Kursk. The militia, one of the militia here in northern Russia, or northern Belarusia, excuse me, is going to walk into Smolensk. The other militia that's here in northern Belarusia is going to walk into Petrograd. So that makes 2 militia in Petrograd. The artillery that's here in northern Belarusia is going to rail to Orel-Kursk. Okay. And then we have one additional rail movement. One of the infantry in Karjala will rail from Karjala, and he will rail all the way down to Turkmenistan. Okay. And then finally, the 3 infantry in Karjala are going to walk into Petrograd. So there's that. Okay, pretty straightforward. Make sure there's no other non-combat moves that I need to do. I don't think so. I think that covers this. Okay, so let's do placement of units. So we will have a Cossack to place in Moscow. We will place a cavalry in Donetsk, Kuban, there. We will place a trench fighter here in Orel-Kursk. And then in Chita, we'll place a militia. We'll place a militia into Novosibirsk. Okay. And then finally, we will place a trench fighter where to put him? We'll put a trench fighter here in western Kazakhstan, I think. No, we'll go to northern Kazakhstan. Yeah, northern Kazakhstan. Okay, so I believe that does it for placement of units. We'll do disposition here in a minute, but let's go collect our income and do our wartime economy roll. Okay, wartime economy. Let's put it in the cup. We always roll it by hand. Hopefully we'll get a good roll with the cup. Oh, we didn't land in the box. Hey, we got a 6. Finally, a good roll. We've had bad rolls all the way up to this point. Okay, so with that, we get 6, plus we get the 1 for propaganda, so we get 7. And then the Soviets also get $2 for the foreign contribution. So we're in the money this round. Okay, so there's 8, 9, 10, plus the 4 puts us at 14. So we have 7 here, 8, 9, plus the 10 we get, so 19. So I need to add 5 more. So total, we have $19 to spend as the Soviets' next turn, which is fantastic. Again, we got that by doing foreign contribution because we have a port in our possession. We got $1 for propaganda. We got $6 for wartime economy, and then we have $10 in territorial income still. So combined, that gets us to $19. And that should do it. So now let's go do a disposition of forces here. Thank you all for tuning in to this point, and we'll catch you all next time. All right, disposition for the Soviets. So before I start listing units, we moved up to stage 2 on improved factories and to stage 3 on improved logistics. In southern Finland, we have an infantry. In Kola, we have a militia. In Petrograd, we have 2 militia and 3 infantry. In Smolensk, we have a militia. In Moscow, we have a Cossack. In Orel-Kursk, we have 2 cavalry, 1 fighter, 1 airship, 2 artillery, 3 infantry, 2 trucks, 2 trench fighters, 1 Cossack, and 1 effective commander that is paired with a cavalry. Okay. Then in Don Mansion, we have a trench fighter. In North Caucasia, we have a militia. We have a damaged rail now in eastern Ukraine. We still have the damaged rail in Kiev. We also have a damaged rail in Taurida. We still have the 3 infantry in Taurida for the Makhno army. We still have all the damaged rails out west, or I guess technically it's to the east. We have 2 Cossacks here in Urals, along with a militia, an infantry, an artillery, and a balloon. Tobolsk has 4 infantry and a militia. Northern Kazakhstan has a trench fighter. In Turkmenistan, we have an infantry way down there. In Novosibirsk, we have 2 militia, an infantry, and an ineffective commander. And then finally, we have a militia in Chita, way out there to the east. The White's commander retreated from Urals to Yenzi. Okay. And again, if it wasn't that we were supposed to roll for that commander, it didn't matter because all the rolls missed regardless of whether or not he was at a 4 or a 5. So that's an easy fix. I think he would have gone there regardless. So, that's the nearest land zone. Okay, I think that does it. I don't think that we messed anything up. If we were supposed to lose more infantry for the Spanish flu, please let me know. Again, I don't think we were supposed to because the only territory that was impacted was Angara, and then that would have then impacted Novosibirsk. So, all right, guys, I think that does it for the Soviets. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please let me know, but otherwise, we should be good to go. I don't think I mentioned either of their naval units. They still have their Naval Recon Observation Balloon in Zaristan, and then we still have the Coastal Sub in M11. Okay, thank you all for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next time. Thanks.